Hey all, how you doing? My name is Michael Neff, master bartender and trainer of bartenders all around the world. So because we're here now and we can't get anywhere else, I'm kind of gonna take a certain idea of training that I have and break it up into bits and present it here for you guys. So I'd be curious to see what you think. Training a bartender takes many years, a long time, to make a really good bartender. Training someone just to make drinks also takes time, but not nearly as much, and it kind of lives in a different level than when you're talking about someone who graduates up to competence and then up to mastery. Levels of mastery, I've kind of broken down into three different parts. The first level of mastery is in the head, second is in the hands, and the third is in the heart. And in the head is the data layer, and that's where a lot of training programs live. This is where recipes live. This is where kind of education lives as far as the specifics of what is bourbon, what is gin, like where does tequila come from, all the stuff that we spend a lot of time focusing our attention on. Once you kind of get through that mastery level of the head, the next thing and the infinitely harder thing to train is getting it into the hands, which is another way of saying getting into the body. This is the part that comes through time. Time, practice, experience. Time, practice, experience. And this is also the level of poetry in motion. This is when you watch a bartender who just is magic to watch behind the bar, who glides through his or her shift and who becomes more and more seamless about how they can interact with their clientele, with their environment, mesh all that together, and starts to just instinctively do things which kind of frees them up to think about and kind of interact in a different way. And it's not necessary to master the head before you get to the hands. I mean, there's plenty of bartenders out there who don't spend a lot of time thinking about information because they don't need it. And there's wonderful bartenders who would never even think to question, like, why would we want to know what bourbon is? Because their job to them is not necessarily to educate people; it's to make sure people have a good time and mind their manners. And it's a relatively modern thing to assume that we need to teach people stuff when we're behind the bar. It is a modern thing, so I won't ignore it. But that body layer of mastery is the one that you can kind of accomplish on your own. It's helpful if you have someone around you, preferably next to you, like kind of showing you what it's like, but that's what time gets you. The third level is much more rare, and that's mastery that lives in the heart. So you go from the head to the hands to the heart. That level of mastery is kind of more based on an idea laid out in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's that kind of top level of flow, they call it. And that's when what you do becomes so integrated with who you are. You focus so much on what it is that you're accomplishing that all of your attention goes into it, forgetting all the other stuff. So it brings you that kind of body feeling of transcendence. And I know that sounds kind of high-minded and or hippy-dippy and or kind of, weird kind of Buddha Zen stuff. And a lot of weird Buddha Zen stuff kind of comes from that same idea, but for those who've experienced it, it's an unmistakable feeling, and it totally changes the context in which you operate and you think about the work that you do, the mission you have, the job you've created, the career you've chosen, like however you want to contextualize it. And I want to talk about each of those levels, the head, the hands, and the heart, in a much more specific way. So we don't often train bartending because it's really hard to generalize. It's hard to talk about. And training bartending is kind of like doing bartending. That's how it is for most of us, and that's how most of us learn. But I think that as more time goes by, especially now when everyone's kind of at home, we can take that time, because we can't do bartending. Maybe we can learn how to talk about it a little bit more, and maybe we can learn how to kind of start to train ourselves to think about how we do in a different context. So that's what I want to do. So please check out the videos, send them around. If that interests you, go check out the podcast, and then that's going to start a conversation, and I look forward to having it in this. I want to remind everyone that bars are important. You cannot have a bar unless you have a bartender that is competent in which to present it. So that's where we come in, and that's the conversation I want to have. So we won't, let's put aside the daiquiri specs for the moment, and let's take a step back and look at what we actually do figure out where we are and figure out how all of us can get better, because I'm learning every day and I hope that you are too. So I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Okay.